At first, Earth did not resemble a place that could welcome something alive. The sky was heavy, dense, almost irrespirable. In the air there were vapors, hot gases, smoke of volcanoes. The surface was black in many points, cut by glowing stones and slow castings. The sea, however, existed already. The water moved under a pale light, while the storms hammered without respite. There were no trees, there were no animals, there was no grass, no shadow, nor a familiar sound, only wind, stone, and water. Yet, just in that hostile world, something was about to begin. Not a visible event from afar, something smaller than a grain of dust, something that would change everything. Before life, there were only ingredients: water, metals, gas. The coasts were natural laboratories. The rocks flowed near the boiling springs. The waves beat against the stones and left deposits, layer after layer. Every puddle, every crack, each mineral shell could become a refuge for tiny reactions. There was no intention. There was no project, just time. And time on the ancient Earth worked as a patient hand. Simple molecules bumped, joined, broke. Some combinations lasted just an instant. Others perhaps managed to stay. Life didn't come with the strawberries. There was no lightning that cut the sky. There was a threshold, a minimum difference between a substance that is dispersed and a substance that remains together. Between a chaos of molecules and something that, for the first time, begins to conserve. Maybe they were primitive membranes. Maybe tiny drops rich in chemistry. Perhaps structures born near constant energy sources. Scientists still discuss details, but the essential point is clear. At a time, matter began to do something new. He began to stay. And when something manages to stay, it has already begun to live. The first forms of life were almost invisible. They seemed nothing in the water, yet they were a revolution. A cell was a closed room in the open world. Inside, slow and precise reactions. Outside, an environment that could destroy it in an instant. Each cell had to eat, defend itself, repair itself. He had to divide the time between surviving and copying himself. The primitive seas guarded tiny colonies, hanging to an infinite patience. Nobody saw them. No one named them. But they were there. And the planet, without knowing, had just found its first inhabitants. For a long time, life learned to live without light. The sun was there, but not yet as a source to exploit. The underwater world was made of shadows, currents, pressures. In some places, the heat came from the bottom of the sea. In others, chemicals offered energy as a rare and valuable meal. Every small cell was trying to resist. Some fed what they found. Others split slowly, when the conditions were right. Life wasn't strong. It was tenacious. And tenacity, on a young planet, was worth more than strength. But in the deepest darkness, something was already waiting for light. Then there came a new possibility, no longer just catching what the chemistry offered, but take energy directly from the light. The sun struck the surface of the sea every day. A silent rain of energy descended from above. Some organisms managed to exploit it. It was a simple passage, only in appearance. Actually, it was like finding a hidden door in the world. The cells capable of using light no longer depended on the case. They could grow in different places, higher, closer to the air, closer to the day. The surface of the sea became a new border. There, in the transparency of water, life began to look at the sun. The photosynthesis was one of the most decisive inventions in Earth's history. Very small, silent, and devastating for the ancient balance. Some microbes learned to use light to transform water and carbon dioxide into energy. And as a side effect, they released oxygen. At first, that oxygen did not change the world immediately. It melted in the water. He was lost. It was consumed by rocks and chemicals. But the transformation was gone. Each photosynthetic cell was a small factory of future. And the future, this time, began to fill the air of a new substance. On the low and warm coasts, life left a signature that can still be seen today. Hills of thin layers were formed. stone, and microorganisms together. They're called stromatolites. They look like rocks. They're actually archives. Day after day, layer after layer, microbi communities trapped sediments and grew a slow, almost motionless relief. The sun beat strong. The water retreated and returned. The surface hardened, broke, recomposed. Meanwhile, life continued to work, patient, invisible. Those ancient structures remained as evidence. The Earth was already breathing, but still struggling. Oxygen was useful for some. For others, it was a threat. In the ancient world, many substances reacted with greed as soon as they came into contact with that new element. Iron in the water oxidized. The rocks changed color. The sea filled with slow transformations, invisible from the shore. But for life that lived without oxygen, that future air was almost poison. It was not an obvious catastrophe yet. It was an accumulation, a pressure that grew up without making noise. The planet was changing, and almost no one noticed. Almost. When oxygen really began to accumulate, the planet reacted. The old forms of life, accustomed to a world without oxygen, were in difficulty. It wasn't a conquest for them. It was a brutal turn. Entire environments became hostile. Water and rocks consumed oxygen, but it was no longer enough to stop it forever. The surface of the sea continued to produce it. Every day, a little more. No isolated episode better tells this crisis of a slow global change. The problem of the old world was this: there was no visible enemy. There was a transformation. And the transformation was winning. The atmosphere, for a very long time, had been dominated by different gases. Then oxygen began to rise. At first slow, almost imperceptible. But the sky was no longer the same. Surface waters were enriched with light and life. The photosynthetic microbes multiplied in vast expanses. The more they grew, the more oxygen they produced. The more oxygen there was, the more the planet prepared to change. It was a new club, and could not be stopped easily. The Earth was learning to breathe, but the breath came to waves, between resistance and delays. Another revolution came with oxygen. In the high atmosphere, the sunlight began to encounter different gases. New conditions were formed, new colors, new protections. In the future, this would allow the appearance of an ozone band capable of shielding part of the harshest radiation. But then, change was still young. The sky, above the world, was no longer just a ceiling of vapors. It was becoming a threshold between fragile life and an increasingly possible life. The whole planet seemed to hold its breath. And right up there, he was building invisible protection. Slowly, the air stopped being only an unstable mixture, was becoming a shield. The ancient seas still kept traces of the old world. The dissolved iron reacted with oxygen and fell on the bottom. Sheet after layer, immense deposits were formed. Red rocks, bands, sedimentations that still speak of that transformation. Under the surface, the work was continuous. Above, the wind passed without knowing anything. The coasts were almost real, but geology recorded everything. Every grain, each color, each plate, told that the planet was no longer the one before. And the forms of life that produced oxygen still grew, somewhere, in the glow of low water. The bottom of the oceans turned into a slow and inexorable archive. Each layer was a wordless written page. For a long time, Earth was a divided planet. In some environments, oxygen became more present. In others, the world remained almost intact, still hostile to the new chemistry. Ancient cells survived where they could. The photosynthetic cells expanded, where the light was strong enough and water calm enough. A fragile balance separated these two ages. Above all, time progressed without haste. But every generation of microbes left something behind. A little more oxygen, a little less darkness, a planet a little less closed. The road to a breathable world was still long, but by now it was open. Life changed not only the atmosphere, he also changed himself. Over time, many cells learned to use the new oxygen to get more energy. Others were damaged. Natural selection was not a kind hand. It was a constant force. Rewarded who found a way to adapt. Made silent forms unable to respond. In the dark of ancient seas, Life was experiencing no rest. Breathe, resist, change. 3 simple words. 3 slow revolutions. The Earth learned a very hard lesson. Those who survived were not the strongest, but the most capable of transforming themselves. With more oxygen in the air, the planet slowly began to prepare for larger forms of life. Not now, not clearly, but change accumulated. The waters, the air, and the rocks entered a new relationship. The sky protected a little more. Chemistry became more varied. The seas offered new spaces for metabolism. The world, which was almost just a laboratory of reactions, became a home. A still restless house, but finally habitable. And in that long preparation, the future of plants, animals, and even human beings found its first conditions. The history of the oldest life is not made of faces. It is made of traces, stromatolite, isotopes, cheeses, iron layers, rocks that bring, in their interior, the sign of a missing world. Every test is fragile, yet together make up a powerful story. Earth was not born breathing. I learned to do it, first through invisible microbes, then through an atmosphere that slowly changed around them. The planet has long memory. Just read it. There was no applause. There was no voice that announced the transformation, only sea, wind, and time. And under that apparent calm, an irreversible change. Ancient air was no longer intact. The waters were no longer the same. Life had altered the planet without building anything visible. No cities, no temple, no fire lit by human hands. Only billions of tiny cells, working at a time when the world seemed immense and immutable. And that was exactly the miracle. The greatest change of Earth was born in silence. Every time we inspire, we participate in an ancient history. The oxygen that fills the lungs has not always existed like this. It is the result of a long succession of invisible beings, of remote seas, of sunshine on the surface of the water. Life did not just appear, transformed the planet that had received it. And that transformation opened the way to everything else. To more complex organisms, to forests, populated oceans, skies crossed by clouds and storms, and finally to the human consciousness that today can look back. The breath of the earth is ancient. It was built by tiny beings, and it continues in every breath of wind and in every breath of air. Earth learned to breathe long before someone could understand it. In this documentary, the following works and research institutions have been used as main historical sources. Day William Schaff, Cradle of Life, The Discovery of Earth's Earliest Fossils. Andrew H. Knoll, Life on a Young Planet, The First 3 Billion Years of Evolution on Earth. Nick Lane, The Vital Question, Energy, Evolution, and the Origins of Complex Life. Paul G. Falkowski, The Origins of Life and Photosynthesis. Joseph W. Kirschvink, Earth's Early Atmosphere and the Rise of Oxygen. Donald E. Canfield, Oxygen, 4 Billion Year History. Max Planck Institute for Chemistry, NASA Astrobiology Program, Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History. Nature, Science, Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences.